All right, so the latest module in the classroom, remember all of the handouts, all the videos, all of the PDFs, everything is now in Google Classroom. So you can access everything there in an organized, systematic structure. So the last module I've uploaded or we went over is module 3.1. Next week we'll go into 3.2. We're actually pretty much more than just beyond the halfway mark in the course. So let's go to 3.1. And the verse is Dashamrita Gita number 8. Yeah, so we're beyond halfway. There's 10 total verses, and there's 4 more. So we're about 6 more verses to go to the completion of the course. So in this verse, Krishna says, by thus, the topic is moksha, right? With dharma, artha, kama. Now the topic is moksha. Krishna says, by thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the results of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries. In this verse, Krishna uses the Sanskrit term janma bandha. Janma meaning birth, bandha means to be bound. So being bound by the cycle of birth and death. Here, Krishna is referring to this particular verse is referring to videha mukti, right? When there's liberation, mukti, videha, beyond the body. Deha means body. So this is breaking free of the cycle of birth and death. How? Indicated in the first line of the verse. Karma jam buddhi yukta hi, buddhi yukta. Through connection, through intelligent, buddhi means intelligence, yukta connection. In other words, Krishna is saying through buddhi yoga, spiritual intelligence. Right? We've gone over this before. Buddhi yoga is coined by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna defines buddhi yoga as bhakti yoga. In chapter 10, text 10, we see Krishna making this link that buddhi yoga is bhakti yoga. So Krishna is saying essentially through bhakti yoga, we can janma bandha vinir mukta. We can break out of this cycle of birth and death. We can achieve videha mukti and attain that state beyond miseries. 3-4 days ago, I was having a discussion during break at work. My friend and I, we took our lunch together, and a coworker, and he's a Catholic, and we were discussing, Catholicism, Vedic spirituality, and he was asking, what's the goal of Vedic spirituality? In Catholicism is to go back to heaven and live a wonderful life. I said, well, it's essentially the same, but we'll use the term moksha. It's not so much a particular place where after death, one must achieve a spiritual location. It's not a particular locale in that sense. It's a state of being. And it's called Brahma Nirvana, and that state is moksha. So that's the ultimate goal, is moksha. And I was explaining to him, moksha means freedom. Complete and total freedom. And then he asked, well, freedom, that's fine. What's the purpose of freedom? And of course, the next step is, with that freedom, there's the possibility to experience love, because love is the highest, and we have this even in our personal experience. A loving relationship, a healthy, loving relationship is the key that opens the greatest potential of human life. We live longer, we heal faster, we get sick less often, we register a high level in terms of life satisfaction. Love is the key that unlocks everything positive about the human experience, about our existence. This is similar on a spiritual level. Through love, we manifest, or love exists within us, and by manifesting love fully and completely, we live to our highest spiritual potential of Sat, Chit, and Ananda. But love requires freedom. Love requires moksha. Without moksha, we cannot manifest pure, unlimited love extensively. So freedom is absolutely essential. Therefore, the goal of human life, right, the Purusharthas, the purpose is to come to the level of moksha, where we have complete freedom. And it's not only freedom from, at the end of this life, when we die, freedom from the restrictions of this material body, but it's really, and first primarily, restrictions from conditioning, freedom from restrictive ideas and belief systems, freedom from kam, krodh, lobha, moha, mad, and masar. I was explaining all this to him and how this freedom is absolutely essential. So coming back to this verse, Krishna is saying, by engaging in buddhi yoga, by living the principles of buddhi yoga, we free ourselves from this attachment to work in this world. Because remember, these are belief systems. We gain freedom from attachment to work in this world. And that freedom from that attachment enables us to break free from this cycle of material birth and death and live in a state beyond all miseries. And it's quite interesting. I remember speaking to him, and I was saying that love is not the absence of conflict. Love is not the absence of even a measure of pain. And that was quite like, really? How would mean that? Why is that so? Why is that something that? Why is that the highest, or the highest state of existence, still have pain? And when we study Bhakti Yoga, and we study even the Bhagavad Gita, we realize that through Arjuna's development and in the development of Bhakti Yoga, it's not the seeking the absence of conflict that is the highest goal. Suffering and pain are two different, or they have, let's put it this way, they have a different, they are two different things in the Vedic context, in the context of Bhakti Yoga. You can live a life of love, pure bhakti, and still experience pain, right? Conflict. And this is because, first of all, love requires a relationship. Love requires two people, right? My wife and I cannot stand bananas. My wife argues that fruit salad must have banana in it. Banana is healthy, potassium, it's very good for you. It's nice and sweet, it's a natural sugar. So she's arguing on behalf of bananas. I am arguing that bananas are the worst thing God has ever created. Conflict. There can even be a measure of pain and upset because my wife insists and goes ahead and puts bananas in the fruit salad. Right? So there's a measure of upset and frustration. But there is no, and this is the difference, there is no harm. There is no spousal abuse, let's put it bluntly. So where there is love, there can be frustration, disappointment, and we see this throughout the stories of Radha Krishna Leela. Krishna gets upset with Radha, and Radha gets upset with Krishna. There's frustration, there's disappointment. There is no harm. And that's the difference. There is no harm. And my Catholic friend, he was taking this on board, which I was very impressed by. And he has two young boys. And I was saying, let's look at your two young boys. You love them 100%, completely, and with all your heart and body and mind and soul. When you are with them, when you're playing with them, when you are even disciplining, when you're teaching them, when you're raising them, you do so with love. But there may come a point where the individual, your child, is experiencing great pain because of something you're doing in terms of disciplining them. Or even if they're playing and they fall down, all right, they're in their room, you've put their playroom, you've put the foam mat on the ground, the outlets are, covered, everything is safe for them. And they're running around in circles having a fun time, and they fall down on this carpeted, foam-covered floor, and they get a little bump on their knee. You know that no harm has come to the child, but the child is in absolute pain. Well, the child thinks it's in pain. Well, I'm not going to say think. The child is experiencing discomfort, absolutely. But you know that no harm has been done. This is how we can understand that at a state of spiritual maturity, when we have reached a state where we are experiencing and we are able to manifest and live our full Swarup. We talked about Swarup in the previous verse, right? Swarup is the nature of the soul. Swarup, our own, Sva, own, Rupa, form. Sat, Chit, and Ananda, pure existence in eternity. Sat, Chit, complete and awareness of our being, devoid of, separate from the conditioning of ego, ahankar. Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Ananda, this Ananda comes from, this bliss comes from the expression of pure love. So we're existing in our Swarup, pure Sat, Chit, and Ananda. There will be experience because of relationships of love. There will be experiences of disappointment, experiences of frustration. But while there are these experiences of frustration, there are also the highest and greatest experiences of satisfaction, of happiness, of Ananda, devoid of harm. The harm that comes from Kam, Krodh, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. This is what moksha provides. Our ability to live in full manifestation of our Swarup, Sat, Chit, and Ananda, free from the harm caused by Kam, Krodh, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, and able to choose love, which doesn't bring the end of conflict. It gives us the ability to transform conflict to deeper bonds of love. That's all conflict does. For a bhakti yogi, conflict, disappointment, frustration, all it does is gives us opportunities to transform that conflicting energy, to transform those frustrations into even deeper bonds of love. This is what moksha brings. So when we read this verse, karma jam buddhi yuktahi phalam tyakva manishinaha janma bandha vinir mukta padam gacchadaman namayam. That through buddhi yoga, we become free from the bonds of material attachment in this world. Attachments come, karma jam buddhi, karma jam, born of work. These attachments, these concepts, these identities born that come from the results of my work. Right? When you meet someone, what do they say? What do you do? And they tie your identity up with the work that you do. Vinir mukta, becoming free from that, identification, becoming free from that attachment. We come to moksha. And in that state of moksha, we leave behind miseries, the miseries caused by karma, kam, krodh, lobha, and so on. We're free from all of that. And we're able to exist, and it manifests our pure svarup of Sat Chit and Ananda and live in pure love, where we experience conflict and frustration. But we have the ability to transform those conflicts and use that energy for deeper bonds and experiences of love. And we know from experience that love is the greatest expression of the human existence. Any questions? Anything to share? Very good. Just a moment. So in module 3.1, I wrote a kind of allegory of how ahankar, ego, how it's connected to ichcha, desire, how it's connected to mukti, or liberation. So when you go through that module this week, this coming week, you will see how all of these things tie together that lead us toward moksha. It's in the video as well. And as I was mentioning to my Catholic friend, love requires choice. So even in the Vedic spirituality, even in that realm, or if you will, there's always choice. So when we have this, I would almost call it a post-traumatic stress disorder, that our greatest horrors, our greatest pain, our greatest miseries, everything that's most terrible that has happened to us and the world, where does it come from? It comes from other human beings. If you think about it, the greatest pain and distresses caused in this world has come from the hands of other human beings. It's fascinating when you think about it. So human beings are both the source of our greatest miseries, pain and suffering, but human beings, through love, are also the source of our greatest fulfillment, our greatest happiness. We experience our greatest potential through or in relationship with other human beings. So they exist. Both of these, this paradox exists in human relationships. So what happens? We want to deny relationship. We want to deny experiences where we have to be in relationship with other individuals. And this is where we come to a spiritual process that denies personhood. It eliminates personhood. And this is Shankaracharya's Advaitavad philosophy, where we can exist and reconnect, spark to flame, reconnect with our spiritual identity by merging into the total spiritual energy of Brahman. And we therefore experience Brahmananda. Brahman means the spiritual energy, total spiritual energy. Ananda is this happiness. So by merging into this supreme, by merging into Brahman, that is also a moksha. We are free from kam, krodh, and all of the rest. We're free from the ahankar has been completely purified, and we have merged into, at this stage, the ahankar doesn't even exist because ahankar is a material element. So we've no longer restricted by the material elements, and we have merged into complete spiritual reality of Brahman. And also at this state, we do not have to deal with individuality. Neither my own individuality nor yours. I do not have a wife who is coming at me with a banana because there's no individuality. Without individuality, there is no difference. Without individuality, there's no variegatedness. There's no differentiation. You need individuality for one person to like bananas and for one person to hate bananas and the other person to like bananas. That requires differentiation, that requires individuality, that requires variegatedness. But by merging into Brahman, all of that individuality is gone. All of that variegatedness is gone. That differentiation is not there. There is merging, like the drop of water. This is what Shankaracharya describes, a drop of water back into the ocean. You can no longer distinguish what was the ocean and what was a drop of water. This is that merging into Brahman. No individuality, no differentiation, no variegatedness, but also what that does is there's no possibility of relationship. And for some, that is a spiritual existence they want. We're always given the opportunity to choose. We can choose that state of being, devoid of individuality, devoid of differentiation, devoid of variegatedness, and therefore devoid of a loving relationship. Rather, there is a merging, a complete immersion, like a drop of water into the ocean with Brahman, and devoid of all of the possibilities of loving relationship, but devoid of also the pain and misery that comes, pain that comes from relationships of love. But then there's the other opportunity. This is the path of Buddha Yoga, which Krishna advises. No, there is personhood. There can be the opportunity for personhood and individuality, not negating one or the other. Neither was a choice. It's a choice. It's one on the other hand, Brahman and Brahmananda, no identity, no variegatedness, no differentiation. And then there's the other opportunity for those who want loving relationships, live manifestation of love through relationships and are able to, any pain that arises, they're able to transform that pain, that conflict into greater experiences and bonds of love. That choice is also there. But in order to make the choice, freedom is required. Moksha is required. To make whatever choice you choose to make, there must be freedom. There must be freedom. So unless there are any questions, we will end there. Very well. No, there is not. So this week, the module 3.1, it's already in the classroom. The test is there. The PDF handout is there, as is the video. So you can watch the video. And then, of course, this recording will be uploaded later today. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunatu Sahaviryam Kuruvavahai Tejasvina Vadhitamastuma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Have a wonderful weekend. Hari Hari.